This is Hardy Brute with another run of Merge Maestro. Last time we played on the orange board, which made the rainbows twice as strong, trigger twice as much, and made for some crazy combos. We also powered up our tokens all the way to level 9 for some truly broken tokens. We unlocked a new difficulty, introducing 2 new enemies. We still have the blue board to play on, but today I think I'm going to play on the brown. Start with a random set of tokens, so let's check it out. It'll also guarantee the sport set. Our level 1 token will attack after 5 turns, which is pretty slow. The jersey will buff the next token's attack, and then exhaust it, but the pet doesn't have an attack. The rain actually combos with the maple leaf, reducing its cooldown, and the camp actually combos with the jersey. We'll make a copy of a token with a merged effect, but the biggest combo is the jockey and the jersey. When the jockey appears, he'll level up an exhausted token 3 times, and the jersey automatically exhausts the 3rd token. The rock climber buffs tokens, but only 5 times, which is kinda bad. The sailboat plays around with consumption and the juice box mechanic, so the number 6 is a dud. We want to replace our 3rd token with something that has an attack, and the cactus is perfect. When it appears, it'll attack 1 to all enemies, and if it has a buff, it'll gain +1 multi-strike, which our number 2 jersey gives it a buff naturally. So this was one of the best tokens we could have found, and it fits right in our current build. The next thing we'll want is a replacement for number 6, because it is a dud that does nothing. But higher tier tokens don't actually show up within the first 2 or 3 shops, so we can't actually replace it for a while. But we would still want a better number 1 and a better number 4. Because even though we've been filling the board with the maple leaf, it hasn't actually triggered yet. And if we were still waiting for it to do damage, we would have lost at least 1 life by now. So the headphones is a decent number 3, but our 3 is better. The prawn has attack, but we can't lose our jersey number 2 because that's kind of our entire combo. Even into the late game with the jockey. And the volleyball needs to be destroyed, so let's just re-roll these. The banquet is decent. It's better than our current rain, but buffing the tokens on the board isn't actually going to do anything, because all of our damage comes from up here. So let's just skip all of these. Hopefully we'll find something better later on, but I actually already like our team quite a bit. We've got a lot of synergies just built right in, that the game handed to us. Just look at the cactus. He did 6 damage to all enemies, and he didn't even use his multi-attack. So we could have done a 2nd attack as well. But one of the downfalls of the countdown mechanic is that if it happens while there's no enemies on the board, it'll just restart all over at 4, like it never happened. So unlike the badger that we had, that was primed and ready to go, the maple leaf and the countdowns are a bit awkward. But a level 1 token, doing 5 damage, and not being rainbow, is pretty strong even though it takes forever. The basketball has a pure attack of 4, and if it destroys an enemy, will repeat the attack with an additional +4 damage. So that is way better than our current rain cloud. It will at least benefit the team as a whole. So let's get the number 4, and by doing this we should probably also replace our number 1, because it's very slow, and the chance that it might be sped up occasionally was kind of a pipe dream. We also have to keep in mind, when we can actually make level 7 tokens, that the number 6 token is very important, because the number 3 exhausted cactus will evolve into whatever our 6 is. So it needs to have an appear effect, or some sort of benefit for just being there. But either way, we can get more 7s, more 8s, much quicker that way. So that's why it's just a great combo all on its own, even if we still have the dud the entire time. But we've got a lot of time to pick a token that fits the build. And we got a rainbow number 3. Attacks only 1, but does it 6 times. I think we have to say goodbye to our cactus, because each one of those attacks from the bell are going to benefit from the jersey buff, because it's all contained within 1 trigger. If you recall in my last video, we played with the buff mechanic, and we had multiple attacks, but only because we had multiple triggers. So when the trigger is self-contained, it keeps the buff the entire time. So each one of those attacks is doing 6 damage. You can't actually tell on the fruit roll-ups because it reduces all damage to 1. But these scorpions with the heart, they did take 6 damage. So we're going to do 6, another 6, and we just keep on doing 6s. We actually attack 6 times. So we do 36 damage every time we make a number 3, which is crazy. The Rainstorm reduces the countdown of all tokens by 2. Your passive tokens on the top left corner are twice as effective, or your tokens with passives have more attack. We only have 2 tokens that have passives, and neither one of them has an attack. So these are all actually duds, and we've been too lucky in the game so far. But let's just take the Rainstorm for now, in case we find some sort of countdown mechanic later. That'll be able to take advantage of it. But that is pretty disappointing. We found the bouquet and the volleyball again, but the baseball. When a non-baseball token is exhausted, which happens every single time after the bell, it'll attack for 4, with 2 uses. I wonder how you make the second use possible. Maybe it's actually going to be a multi-attack. But once it uses all its uses, it'll become grayed out, and it could level up from the jockey. A lot of these sports tokens are around a limited number of uses, about exhausting, or even waking up and refreshing other tokens. So it's a pretty unique mechanic and a pretty unique deck, and I like it a lot. All of the tokens are typically pretty strong too. Between these sports and the nature blue deck, I think those are the 2 strongest decks I've seen so far. And now we're just going to decimate the board. And the baseball actually finished it off. I'm really glad we got that token. It really fits our build. But the bamboo box, your tokens that buff do so by an additional 1. That is pretty good, especially since our number 6 doesn't do anything. But it's not great. It would just be 6 more damage overall. The rainbow toolbox, triggers merged, appeared, and destroy effects, but it's for our number 6 that doesn't even exist. The rainbow fire extinguisher is super broken. It's going to do 40 damage all on its own, and I did a run focusing on appearing and destroying it, so I'm inclined to not actually take it. I lied. But in that other run, the fire extinguisher was not rainbow, and I am a very simple man. I see a rainbow, I take a rainbow. I can only resist so much. But honestly, our build is so strong that we probably don't even need the fire extinguisher. I still think that just our Bell jersey combo would win the game for us. But there are 2 new enemies, and I have no idea what they are. So maybe they have just lots and lots of health or something. Or some sort of mechanic that'll reduce our damage significantly. So it's always nice to have a backup plan. We could always go back to the sailboat, pretend we never found the amazing fire extinguisher. Or the octopus has a passive attack. Could take the cactus back, and forget we had the amazing bell. And these are all terrible. So we're just going to skip these. But we actually could use a new number 8 and number 5. The 5 can only proctor when the jersey merges. And our number 8, while being pretty good, giving a 2 buff to a random token, it only happens 5 times, and then it becomes exhausted itself. Which isn't great. But we could always merge them together, create a new number 8, and restart the process. But the buff is temporary, and that's a lot of work. So I'd much rather just have a good number 8. And that I don't have to keep on recycling. But we got one final snake before wave 8, and then we can go to the shop as well. But we're getting very close to making level 6, and even our first level 7 token, which is only going to give us free tokens to go even higher faster. the stadium at the end of the turn, practice a random sport, which I like actually quite a bit more than our current level 8, but I'm sure we can find a rainbow. The turtle likes to drink, and also crafts a lot. The broomstick on merge will give the bell +3 multi-strike instead of the buff that the jersey is currently giving, which I almost want. I think it would make our bell even better, but we would lose the exhaust mechanic for our jockey, and we haven't even been able to make a jockey yet, but we are so close. So I have to turn down that rainbow, just because we've been working at this combo for such a long time. And that's the first time the camp has actually paid off and given us some extra free tokens. But the way it's set up is we get 2 jerseys every time we make 1 bell now. So now we just get more bells for free. And it's kind of just perpetual. But we really need to get towards that jockey at some point. We also have to be aware that it's an appear effect and a single time effect. So if you try to set up the board before we make it, the rainbow number 6 trophy, appear and destroy, practice tennis twice. Your attacks deal 1 times more damage. So it just gives all of our attacks multi-attack. That is very, very strong. And this actually fits the build, synergizing with our bell, over the fire extinguisher, which is just an OP token by itself. And I have no issues getting rid of the fire extinguisher for something that actually benefits the entire build. But we're in a hectic part of the game, where the poison pufferfish and the parasite snakes will actually destroy our tokens and stop our progress. But with just 1 tennis, our bells, which usually do 6 damage, we're doing 12. So I think the tennis works differently than I thought. It adds the damage directly to the base. So at 4 tennis, we're actually doing 24 plus the base, and that explains the 30s we were getting. So tennis is very, very strong with tokens that already have multi-attacks. Passive tokens will trigger twice. Each turn, the Great Oak will attack all enemies, and it will get buffed by your team's buffed effects. That's pretty interesting. Your level 3 token will trigger twice more. As if our level 3 wasn't attacking enough already. That is insane. We got a rainbow level 8 diamond. Buff your current set of tokens by 2 wherever they are. That's basically the same thing as the rock climber, but instead of choosing a single token to buff for 5 turns, it'll just buff all of our tokens the first time it appears, but only once. And I like that a bit more. Takes the RNG out of it. But the buff is still temporary. So let's test the multi-triggers. It goes from 18-18 to 3-3. The 2 tennis we had increased the base damage of 1 to 3. But it didn't carry over the buff that we get from the jersey to the 2nd or 3rd trigger. As long as we have the tennis buff, we're doing quite a bit more damage. But without it, we're only doing about 12. Which would be very good against the fruit roll-up enemies, but I don't think they actually exist anymore. They've been replaced by the crocodiles, the pufferfish, and the soon-to-be shark. Adjacent tokens with a passive or countdown effect have +8 damage. That really only affects our baseball, but that token seems very, very strong, and probably a necessity for a passive or countdown build. The non-rainbow rock climber only buffs 1 instead of 2. None of these, but the fountain is pretty interesting. He'll passively wake up all the tokens around him, but it only has 4 uses. It's also part of the sports set, so they like to exhaust, wake up, and then exhaust again. But now we're kind of literally hitting a wall with the shark. Our baseball only does 1 damage, and the double triggers of our bell don't actually do any damage. So the only way to do damage to the shark is to work all the way towards getting some more tennis, or make a brand new bell who will have the strongest buff. But even at 6 damage, he's only going to be doing 3 to the shark. Hitting 6 times, he'll be doing 18. And the sharks start with like 35. So if we end up fighting 4 sharks back to back to back, we could end up losing. But we did start out extremely strong. Copy the merge effects of all tokens in your set twice. And the only merge effect we have is the jersey. So if we end up getting a new level 6 token, it'll be heavily buffed. And it replaces a current token we had, which didn't really do a whole lot for our team anymore. But we're already on wave 12. We haven't actually seen any new enemies yet. And I can't imagine our team's going to change all that much at the end. But you never know. We might find some super broken token just around the corner. But I like this board a lot. It gives you just a bunch of random tokens, and it makes you try a lot of things that you probably never would on your own. And once you see them in action, you can actually decide if they're good or bad. You also get to see combos and combinations that you probably haven't seen before. This isn't my first attempt at the brown board though. The first time I tried, I got a bunch of tokens that didn't have any attacks, and because you don't have the appear effect of even doing 1 damage, I lost on wave 2 or 3, unable to even do any damage. So it's truly a random assortment of tokens, and I'm all for it. But we go on to wave 13, and let's check out the shop. Countdown after 5 turns, level up twice. That's pretty good. Gives each subsequent attack by the same token in the same action, plus 2 attack. What? Was this token made for us? It's gonna make the bell incredibly broken. And it's not a unique token. You can have as many crabs as you want. 15, 26, 29? Oh my goodness. So now we need to fill the board with crabs. Forget about tennis. Forget about the diamond. Those ones all take way too long. Check out this bell, 6, 10, 14, 23. We destroyed that shark. And the shark was our kryptonite. Shark from the start. And we still had extra attacks in there. That is crazy. So let's make another crab. Oh no. That mirage. It betrayed us. Because the jersey exhausts. It's got a passive ability. So that means it's still going to work? It does not work. Because otherwise I would have said buff under it. So this is very awkward now. We got the drunk turtle, the jigsaw that'll merge and buff, and the whale that also likes to craft a drink. The bike attacks twice and actually would benefit from the crab, so he's probably our best bet right now. He also benefits from being exhausted and the jockey level up when he's not in the corner. But he does 6 damage every single time he's played, which is pretty strong. That's a lot of damage for free. But the bell does a lot more damage. And I think I'm going to start storing the bikes in the middle. Keep some exhausted tokens so we can get some level ups here. Because I keep trying to manually upgrade the tokens rather than taking advantage of the jockey itself. But I think it's because these sharks and the damage we need to do, constantly making bells, is what threw me for a loop. But 1 bell can take care of 2 sharks now. And we're actually going to be too slow here to create another bell to take out the T-Rex. But this is a new enemy, the giant squid. At the end of the turn, set its health to full. And he's got 89 health. So do we have enough damage to take him out with the bell? I'd been wanting to make the diamond for such a long time, because I really thought we needed the buff. But I guess we do not. The bell just took out the squid and the dinosaur. That's pretty crazy. So the squid healed up to 89. We need a new number 6, and maybe a new number 2, but at this point it's kinda late. Awakens the 2 tokens next to it and then destroys itself. Well, that's not good. The sunflower will buff all the tokens on the board, but not the queued or created token. So the bell would no longer actually get the buff, because it's an appeared attack. And at this point, I think it's too late to really focus on trying to replace 2 or 6. And I'm definitely not going to replace R3. But it's a bit too late to manually make a crab by hand. But we can make one more jockey, then the exhausted crab, to get a healthy new crab. So now we have a diamond and 3 active crabs. And this is as strong as we could have gotten with the time we had left. If we'd gotten the crab a lot earlier in the run, or played a bit more smart with our exhaust jockey mechanic, we probably could have had a board full of crabs. But 3 crabs is still very, very strong. So let's see how it does against 2 squids. At 89 health each, and 2 sharks. Goes from 8 to 37 to 52. And I still think there was some attacks left. So we can easily handle these squids with just a single level 3 token. This build was wild. And the final enemy has 377 health. At the end of the turn, set one of your tokens on fire. Well, this is going to be the test. How much damage do we actually do? Because I'm not sure we do this much damage. 43, 55, 61, and we easily cleared it. That's ludicrous. Well, I hope you enjoyed. It was a lot of fun trying to get this build online. And if you'd like or subscribe, it'll keep motivating me to make videos like this. So I'll see you later.